On the road to riches speeding, I just hope I'm not lost. Lost some homies, run away for them, I gotta push on. If you ain't here to work, bustin', you can get lost. Thought my heart was freezing, gotta let it defrost. On the road to riches speeding, I just hope I'm not lost. Lost some homies, run away for them, I gotta push on. If you ain't here to work, bustin', you can get lost. Thought my heart was freezing, gotta let it defrost.
Hello and welcome to the 7th episode of the Minnesota Mike's podcast. I'm your host, Mike Thornton. Thank you all so much for joining me. And I tell you what, we've had some great guests on this show, and the athletes have been stellar, accomplished, awesome. We had the 7-footer Trayton Thompson. We had the honorable Miss Megan Flashko, goaltender of and captain of the Golden Gopher soccer team. Now, this next guest, they're all great people. They're all great athletes. You can't top Big Ten athletes, but this next guest, she's probably, no, I would say certainly, she's got to be the most decorated college athlete in the state of Minnesota. She's got so many awards. You're just going to have to Google her. I can't tell you all of them. I'll go over some of them in the interview. We'll cut this intro short, but let me just tell you that, and then we'll touch on this, the last thing here. Last week's guest was fantastic. Megan Flashko is so cool, man. Loved Megan. She made me a soccer fan. I'm literally watching Big Ten plus soccer right now, as they're winning 1-0 in their conference home opener versus the Indiana Hoosiers second half. So that's awesome, man. Hopefully they get their first conference win, and I think just bright future ahead for these girls out there. You know, Megan's food reviews, and we always do food reviews on this show at the end, were incredible, just really good. They're going to be tough to top, but I'll tell you what, this next guest, Taylor Heise's food reviews, they're the best food reviews on the show, hands down. And that's no knock on Megan, but they were the best food reviews. So you're in for a treat. You are in for a treat. And let me tell you what, you'll thank me later, folks. So without further ado, let's get into our next interview. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been fortunate to have some great guests on this show. Just truly awesome, and I'm honored for it. But let me tell you what, this next guest here has too many accolades for me to name, truly. But do me a favor and look up Taylor Heise. You'll be in awe. This girl is a star. So firstly, she was Miss Hockey for the state of Minnesota at Red Wing High School. She's homegrown. She's from Lake City, Minnesota. Her freshman year, she stepped on the scene hard, helped lead the Golden Gophers women's hockey team to the Frozen Four. She led all freshmen in the Big Ten in scoring. She's won just about every award you could think of, from All-Conference to All-American to All-World. She's on Team USA, and in the last tournament for Team USA, she led the tournament and actually won the award for MVP. So just too many awards, but she's not just about I, she's about we. She's helped lead the Golden Gophers really far in the NCAA women's hockey tournament every year. In the year 2020, looked like they were surely on their way to winning the national championship, but something happened called, COVID-19. Who knows what would have happened there. Last year, they made it about as far as you can make it, and they were NCAA finalists, where they lost, and they got second place, but they made us all very proud. And luckily, she gets another year of eligibility, where she's going to come this year. I know she's working hard, where they're going to go for that national championship, but regardless, I'll be there to check them out at Ritter Arena, and Minnesota Mike's podcast is proud of her. So without further ado, I'd like to present to you Miss Taylor Heise. Taylor, how are you doing this evening?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being on the show. I feel like, man, I need to go to the casino after getting Taylor Heise on this show. I feel lucky. I might hit the jackpot. So no, truly appreciate you lending a little time here to my podcast.
Absolutely.
So let's start off with this. Last year's team, you guys made it as far as you can make it. You were NCAA finalists. You were stellar. I didn't even mention this. By the way, Taylor Heise won the Patty Kazmaier Award. That's essentially the Heisman Trophy for women's hockey. So she was voted the best player in the country. Now, I'm guessing you're a competitor, and I'm guessing you may have even been a bit salty. You wanted to win that national championship, and y'all came close, but you fell a little short. So with that being said, tell me about how you feel on the tremendous season that you and the women's hockey team had for the Golden Gophers last season.
Yeah, I think that obviously it didn't end the way we wanted it to, but I think we had an amazing team with a lot of players who stepped up at the end of the day when we graduated, a lot of seniors the year before. I'm super excited, obviously, about this year too, but definitely reminiscing on the past is a big thing that we talk about, just to think about the things that we needed to work on and what we're going to learn from. I think when we ended up playing Duluth, I think it was in the quarterfinals of the national tournament. It was even at home, so I think that bit a little harder than normal for a lot of people, but definitely I think we came in a little a little flat. And I think at the end of the game, we were just looking for more. And we had a lot of chances to score, just comes to the puck in the back of the net. Obviously, that wasn't where we wanted to end. But like I said, our team was super proud of what we had done. And we made a lot of the goals that we had started at the beginning of the year. We made them true, and we were able to check them off the list. And obviously, didn't win a national championship at that point, but super proud of that group for sure.
Hey, we're all proud, man. I was a fan from afar. I gotta admit, I was a fan from afar, but I kept seeing every week after week, y'all were just rolling. And yeah, correction there, quarterfinalists, but still, very good team. And you get another chance at it this year, which leads me to my next question. How do you feel about this upcoming season for the women's hockey team for the Golden Gophers?
Yeah, like I said, last year was amazing, and I think we were a little low on numbers. I think, had 23 athletes. I think this year we have 27. So we're definitely going to be deep. Last year we were deep, but I think this year we're going to be deeper. We have four past Olympians coming back, two of which had already played on the team before, and one's from Sweden and one's from Finland. And then we have a great group of freshmen. Our freshman class is awesome too. So I think it's going to be a great year. We already have done our practices. We had a scrimmage today actually, and the competitive level has never been so high. I definitely think that having 3 solid goaltenders, we have 5 lines of forwards, and I think 8. That's a really deep team, and the fact that we can compete against each other, and I classify our team as one of the best in the world and the nation as well. Being able to compete with all of us every single day makes us better. So I'm excited. I think there's going to be a lot to come.
Wow, I was already excited after doing some research, but I'm more excited now. Sounds like the team is deep, and it's going to be impossible to replace the Taylor Heise. But I will say, though, it sounds like the future of the women's Golden Gophers hockey team is bright. So thanks so much for
Absolutely.
sharing. Yeah. Great. The next question I have here is, I did some research. Now, you are a competitive person. You're busy. You're always practicing and working hard on your game and your craft. Yeah, and I know in the summer, you also do international hockey, if I'm not mistaken. You're a rock star in the classroom. And so what do you do with the little free time that you have, and how do you relax and recharge?
Yeah, so in the past, starting last year, actually my freshman year, I lived in the dorm. Sophomore, junior, and senior year, I actually lived in, it's called Tree House. It was a house of 10 of us. Imagine living with 9 other girls. It was a lot, but it honestly made my college experience the way it's happened. I think this year we moved into a house with 5 other people other than me, and that's the Burrows. So we're super excited. With my free time, we have been starting to do a little book club. So like we go and sit outside and we'll read a little bit, but I love to bake. I love to cook. So anytime I'm able to have some free time, I cook for my little ladies that we have at the house. And all 5 of us are super senior, or all 6 of us are super seniors. And we've been through the whole thing together. So I like to hang out with them. I like to be in the summer on a boat somewhere, anywhere really. My family doesn't have a boat, so we have one of my friends, Emily Oden. She has a cabin up in McGregor, Minnesota, and we tend to go up there in the summers and hang out and have some fun. So that's definitely one of the things that I like to do when I have my free time, limited as it is.
That sounds awesome. You're really enjoying the fruits of Minnesota here. I'm actually excited to head up to the lake tomorrow, the first time this fall, I should say. But
that's awesome.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. That's really cool. Okay, so thanks so much for that answer. Now, one thing that some people may not know about you, you come from a family of hoops. You come from a basketball family. I believe you have 2 brothers. One of them just committed to Upper Iowa to play for the Peacocks in SIC. So congrats to your brother there. You have another brother that plays for my alma mater, the University of Northern Iowa there in Cedar Falls. Great basketball program there. So tell me about what it was like growing up in a competitive family that was the Heise family household.
Yeah, so my mom and dad both played basketball at River Falls. Definitely competitive stems from them. But my 2 brothers, Ryan just committed to Upper Iowa, and my other brother, Nathan, who's a little older than Ryan, he plays at Northern Iowa. So I'm really excited, especially, I'm not excited to leave the University of Minnesota, but when I am, I'm very excited that I'm able to cheer on my brothers in a different area and be able to go see them. But starting growing up as a kid, I just remember we had 3 hoops in my front yard. I live in the country, so I live in the middle of nowhere. So we have a big yard, lots of acres, and we had 3 hoops, and we each got one. And my dad would walk around and he'd critique our shooting. We do 100 free throws before you go inside to eat. Like, he's definitely one of the people in my life that started my competitive aspect for sure. My mom's a teacher, so she's all in the education aspect too. So I had both sides. After dinner, we'd go and we'd study and do all that stuff. So I think definitely growing up with 2 brothers, I think there's a thought in people's minds, like either you get along or you don't. And I feel like me and my brothers, even though we sometimes beat the crap out of each other in the yard or we're mad at each other, at the end of the day, we'd all come inside and we knew that it was going to make us better at the end of the day. And I always played defense for them. And now I'm calling myself a class 1 rebounder because I obviously can't compete anymore with them in the basketball realm, but also because they're 6'9" and 6'5". So they're a lot bigger than me. Yeah, but no, they're amazing. And I'm really happy that they helped spark my competitive factor because I wouldn't be here today without them and my parents, of course.
That is something else, boy. You got to have some proud parents right there. Oh, man. So, yeah, that's cool that when your career is done, you get to cheer them on and see their college career. Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, one question I asked is I'm relatively new to TikTok, and I'm fascinated looking at the college athletes' social media accounts. You guys have huge followings. You're way more talented than I was and some of my teammates were when I was in college. And so, with that being said, I've asked a few of your classmates to play other sports. Who would you say has the strongest social media game on the women's hockey team for the Golden Gophers?
I definitely think a lot of people on our team love the TikTok realm and Instagram and everything. I think a lot of us take it more of a funny aspect, but the people who do, Michaela Paul, for example, would definitely have the biggest social media following, in my opinion. She works on it. She has an agent. She loves doing that kind of stuff. And we all think it's hilarious sometimes because she does things that just none of us would do, which respects the game. I respect it because she does make the money off of it and everything. So I definitely would think she has the biggest social media following. It's funny because we'll be talking to other people and they're like, seen Michaela Paul on TikTok, and we're like, duh, she's on our team. But she definitely does have one of the biggest ones, for sure.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah, I'm scrolling through, and I honestly, I've seen a few times. Man, she does some pretty impressive dances there, so that's very cool.
Absolutely.
Okay. This is all fun and games. So if your teammates are watching, it's just fun and games now. Okay. With that being said, who would you say has the worst social media game on the team?
So I think it goes to a lot of different people because we have a lot of people on our team who are super, super smart and they have a lot better things to do than be on their social media. Where some of us are graduate students where I have class like 5 to 8, 3 days a week, which isn't a lot. I get to wake up in the morning and do what I want. But I would definitely think there's a lot of people on our team that like just don't necessarily do that. And one of my roommates, Abby Breen, I always try to teach her the roots of that kind of stuff. She's extremely smart. She's going to pharmacy school this year and being a hockey athlete. She's got a big workload ahead of her, but she doesn't have Twitter. She doesn't have a public TikTok account. I don't know, not public, not one that like she's user 18 something. So she doesn't have a lot. We have a few other people on our team too that I live with and that have that, but she definitely comes to mind when I think of that. I help her out, like post stories sometimes because the lettering or whatever she's using, I'm like, oh, Abby, no, we're not doing that. But yeah, I would say she's definitely one of the people that I think of with that, but she has a lot better things to do with her life than that. So
Abby, you shouldn't feel too bad because your social media game still probably makes mine look even worse. So, no, that's funny. And thanks so much for sharing. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, now this is a Minnesota sports podcast. I am a sports fanatic. If there's a game and it's at a high level of competition, I'm there. So I'll definitely be there at the Ritter Arena this year. But with that being said, you're from Minnesota and you're competitive. So tell me about some of your favorite Minnesota sports teams and why.
Yeah, I think I grew up in a competitive household, so we'd watch Sunday Night Football, all the football games during the week. Hockey never made it on my TV in my family for, oh my God, I probably would have had to been like 14. So it took me 14 years to get hockey in our living room, but now anytime a big NHL game's on, we have it on. I love the Wild. I actually have an NLI deal with them right now, so I'm going to be working with them this year a little bit. But I definitely think that I watch all the NBA teams. Obviously, Timberwolves are good too, but I like watching a variety of them. I like watching our basketball teams here, volleyball too. I think I try to be multifaceted in the sense of who I support and everything like that. I just like watching good sports, and I'm not too particular in what they are, but definitely the Wild. If you're in Minnesota, a Minnesota hockey player or a fan, like we're the state of hockey, so you kind of have to be a fan of the Minnesota Wild. Especially they've gotten a lot better recently. Kirill Kaprizov. Shout out my best friend Katie Skya. She is obsessed with him, so that's her favorite player. So we have gone to games together, and she made a sign for him and everything. But yeah, he's an amazing player, and Matt Boldy too. There's a lot of people on that team who I like try to and mentor my game around. So they're really good.
Oh, totally. I agree. I'm repping Minnesota Wild right now.
Love that. Winter Classic.
Telling you, man. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And they play. I'm actually born in St. Louis, so they play my Blues, and unfortunately, the Blues gave us the Blues that game, but in the playoffs. But hey, that's neither here nor there. No, that's cool. Thanks so much for that answer.
Yeah,
cool. Absolutely. Now, in terms of money in sports, money in sports is certainly male dominated, and you even kind of talked about it a little bit on the pre-call interview. Tell me, how do you feel about the future of women's sports in terms of money, revenue, profits, you name it?
Yeah, I think obviously we're not where we want to be right now, but it definitely has improved since I've been younger. Just the fact that we have 2 professional leagues for women's hockey as of right now compared to 0. When I grew up is obviously a big thing. I think I try to support the women's soccer, USA women's soccer equality of pay, a WNBA as well. But I definitely think that right now, the 2 professional leagues, the PWPHA for one, and then the other one as well, I think it just it's a big step in women's sports. And obviously I'm more prone to seeing the hockey side of things, but I see a lot more women's broadcasters in higher positions as well that they deserve to be in, that they weren't always given an opportunity to. I definitely think that the fact that when I was 12, I didn't know if I could make any money playing the sport I loved, and I might have just had to do it as a second option, made me obviously really sad and mad and question like why women's sports didn't necessarily get the hype that I thought they deserved as well. I think now with the 2 leagues and a really good amount of pay, obviously we're going to up that at some point. Hopefully when I get into the professional league next year, which I hope to do, that the pay is increased. But also if you're playing the sport that you love for pay, at the end of the day, it's not necessarily the main goal of what I do. Obviously it's nice to be able to do the thing that I've trained my whole life for pay, because I obviously want to do that for the rest of my life. But yeah, I definitely think women's sports are growing, and it's an everlasting thing. I think there was one game, I feel like it was volleyball or basketball, where like they had one of the best like showings of, and I think it was that, I'm trying to think what it was, but it had a great showing. And I think, but it also proves that there's certain sports that don't get the media broadcasting that we do, that the men do. Our volleyball team was just playing a ranked opponent and it wasn't anywhere to be found. So I think things like that obviously need to change, and I'm excited to hopefully be a part of that change at some point.
Hey, I'll support it any way I can. I'm guilty of that culture. I'm finally starting to change my ways. I interviewed Megan Flashko last week, and she encouraged me to even purchase the Big Ten Plus. I actually got the game on now. They're tied 0-0 in the first half. But no, you're right. And yeah, it's not all about the money, but go out there and you get the money. You're going to get the money. When you don't forget about Mike Thornton and the Minnesota Mike's podcast. We're looking for sponsorships here, but that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about that later. Okay. So
Absolutely.
now next question here. I'm all about fan environments. I love going to different arenas. I even like to travel and go to different games there, check out just the different cultures. And so with that being said, what would you say is your favorite place to play besides the Ritter Arena, and why?
Yeah, I think this is maybe an unpopular opinion, but I like playing at LeBron, which is Wisconsin's rink, just because there's a sea of red everywhere, and you see about 3 or 4 of our parents all over the place with gold and maroon. And it gets me fired up because they're yelling and screaming and no one is on your side. And when you end up coming out on top of those games, it's one of the best feelings. We swept Wisconsin last year at their place, and I don't think we've done that for a really long time. And it was the 4-hour bus ride back felt like an hour because we were so pumped and so excited for that. So I think definitely LeBron. I don't mind playing in other places as well, but I think LeBron packs their rink well, and it's a really good size considering I think it's about the same size as Ritter. It's an awesome place to play, especially when there's not a lot of fans there cheering for you. I honestly think it makes it better, but that could be an unpopular opinion by me as well.
Hey, that sounds pretty cool though. And hey, I'm a Minnesota sports fan. Anytime we're talking about beating the Badgers, you got me a little pumped there. So that's awesome. Hopefully you can sweep them again this year. I know it'll be a tough matchup though.
Absolutely.
Now, for sure. Next question here. This is your last year at the University of Minnesota, and so I know that's a big deal for you. What will you miss most about playing for?
I think one of the most important factors of college sports is definitely the camaraderie you built with the people around you. I always say you're not going to remember the wins and losses all the time. You're just going to remember how people made you feel. So the fact that I'm still able to live with my 5 best friends who have been with me through this whole experience, and we've been able to do it for 5 years in a row now, I think that's definitely what I'm going to miss most, like waking up and be able to have breakfast around the island with everyone and having that. But I also think the competitive factor, the University of Minnesota has always been a university that I've wanted to play at just because of the competitive factor of it, their national championships, as well as the culture that not only Brad Frost, some coaches in the past, Joel Johnson, Bethany Browse, who now coach for St. Thomas, have put into play, especially before I got there. I think our culture here is amazing. And the fact that we've been able to pull out so many amazing stops based on national championships, conference championships, getting rings. I definitely think we have something to prove this year, national championship wise. But like I said, I'm going to do everything I can for that. But I do think that waking up in the morning, seeing my best friends going to the rink and being able to practice every day is definitely going to be something hard when I don't get to do that anymore.
You definitely don't need to listen to me. You're very accomplished, but I will say, soak it up, man, once it's gone. But yeah, those memories will last a lifetime, and I know those relationships will also last a lifetime. So that's very cool. Thanks so much for sharing that. Now, getting towards the end, I'm going to leave a hint. Now, the last question, it's going to be about food. I'm a Chucky boy over here. I like to eat. I'm probably going to eat a little bit after this interview. But besides that, let's get to the next question. Your next question is this. You touched on a little bit about how you plan on hopefully playing hockey after this. So tell me about your plans after college, after the U, and then assuming you will play professionally, what do you plan to do after that?
Yeah, I think obviously I want to play professionally, playing with Team USA and a lot of those girls play in both the professional leagues, and whatever league I choose, obviously, I'm going to be happy with, but hope to play professional as well. I think when I was younger, the only leagues that you're really able to get paid and play were overseas. So I'm really glad. I'm kind of a homebody. I like to be around my family. I like to be around my friends. So I'll definitely hopefully play professionally and then get somewhere work-wise. I think I'm doing my master's or my MED program in sports management. So I would love to work for a place like the Wild or the Twins, any like sports organization. My dad's an insurance agent. I tried that out for a little bit. I was like, I'm not quite sure about this. I'm just whatever opens up to me. I think it's not about what, it's about who a lot of the time. So whatever opportunities awoken for me, I guess that's a weird way to put it, but are made for me, I think I'm going to take. I'm really excited. Obviously, I want to play hockey as long as I can, but I know my body's not going to hang on forever. So definitely got to have another plan after that.
Oh, totally. And I know you're going to succeed and you're going to be able to utilize that awesome network at the University of Minnesota. I chuckled when you mentioned your dad is in insurance and that wasn't for you. I'm in finance myself. And it's definitely not for everybody.
Absolutely.
No, there's so many different paths you could take, and I know you're going to find your path there. And hey, this next question is my favorite one. I love food. I love it. And I love to
I
eat.
do too.
Okay. Then I'm excited to ask you. I'll just jump right into it. Tell me about your favorite foods to eat, either near campus, you could get outside of campus, close to home. I think you mentioned you like to cook, maybe even the foods that your family cooked for you growing up. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so I think around campus, I've been here for 5 years, and it's an ever-changing food restaurant, coffee shop. Things rotate in and out around here a lot. My number one go-to that's always been something that I've gone to is Tony's Diner. He feeds us pregame. His French toast is so good, and I get it. Usually at home games, my team will walk to Tony's, we'll eat there. He's amazing. He comes to our games somehow. He feeds the football, basketball, our team. He feeds everyone and still ends up making it to our games and everything like that. So that's one of them that I absolutely die for. I think there are certain weird ones. Obviously, I love Starbucks. That's a chain, so that's fine. But I think Al's breakfast is really good. I'm a breakfast for dinner type of girl, so I love any type of breakfast. So Al's breakfast is really good. I'm more of, if I gotta go on the go, it's like Potbelly, noodles, or we used to have Punch Pizza, which I like too. But there's a small sushi place. I don't even know what it's called, but it's right next to Tony's Diner. Actually, it's around the corner. And I get a shrimp tempura there roll, and that's so good. And then also, I love, like, Insomnia, obviously, for a little quick treat. Mochi dough is new. It's like a Japanese donut, I think. It's super good. Yeah, and then one weird one that I found last year with some of my teammates is the Korean corn dog. It's like a place on the corner, also by Tony's Diner. Very weird, but it's definitely something not for everyone, but we've tried different flavors of it, and it's really good, surprisingly. And then I think I like to bake and cook. My team knows it. My house knows it. They hate it and love it at the same time because they say I try to make them fat, which I don't, obviously, but I just have a sweet tooth. So I actually made pumpkin cookies last night, and I delivered some to our freshmen and sophomores today with cream cheese frosting. But definitely my mom is the one that started my whole love for, I guess I'm a foodie for sure. So my foodie love. She's a typical Minnesota mom. We make a lot of hot dishes. She likes making steak burgers. Cheeseburgers are my favorite, actually. They're one of my favorite foods. And I try to get out to new places and see. I need to go to Red Cow, I think, because I haven't been there yet, but I heard that's pretty good. But yeah, so she does a lot of hot dishes and stuff like that. She has a variety of talent. She's a first grade teacher, so she deals with a lot of kids every day and still has the patience to come home and cook. And she always made sure I was well fed. So definitely grateful for that. My dad can make eggs and steak and stuff, but it's definitely limited.
Okay, that's fair. He does this thing too, but man, there was a lot to unpack there. You may have seen me taking notes.
I know.
You were okay. Megan stepped the game up. She was like up here for food reviews. I don't know. Yours might have beat hers, man. And then the fact that you like to cook too. You said pumpkin cookies, boy, it made me smile so hard. Wow, that was awesome, man. Look, folks, if you haven't been to the Ritter Arena to check out the women Golden Gophers hockey team, you need to do it. I'm going to do it this year. I'm looking forward to it. But seriously, you can check them out. I'm sure your games are also on Big Ten Plus, so that's another way you can watch these girls, support them. Check out the girls on their social media, show some love there, and we are honored truly to have Taylor Heise as a guest here on the Minnesota Mikes podcast. So Taylor, with that being said, I'm gonna let you go. I know you're busy, but thank you so much for lending your time here. And in the future, I really hope you're back on. Maybe we could talk some more food reviews and some sports.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for being on. I appreciate you. All right, you take care now.
Yes.
Folks, I truly hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. Taylor Heise is awesome. She is that deal. I tell you what, man. And I swear, I'm not lying. I'll be at the Ritter Arena. Challenge you all to make it there too. We don't know what we have. That women's hockey team is just stellar. They're phenomenal. And I truly think they have a chance at winning the national championship. And who knows, maybe Taylor could even repeat as the Patty Kazmaier Award winner back to back. But regardless, I know that they're going to compete. And I know she is too. She's got that dog in her, man. What else can you say? She's got that winning trait, just that clutch gene. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing her this year. And I'm very honored that she was willing to be on this show. Now, last week's show, if you haven't checked it out, check it out now. All episodes are now on YouTube. And so they're all basically on every platform you could be on. This podcast is Megan was just great. She really turned me into a soccer fan. I'm watching now and wow, they're winning 3-0. So that's great. I know Gabby Cesaroni got us the lead with the header to put the Gophers up 1-0. I think I saw Izzy Brown get a goal to put them at 2-0. I'm not sure who got the third one, but yeah, regardless, they're balling out for their conference home opener at the Roby Stadium versus the Indiana Hoosiers. So shout out to Megan and Gabby and all the girls there, and we're very proud of them. Now, Gopher Football, they play at East Lansing, Michigan versus the Michigan State Spartans this weekend. So this will be their first true test. Michigan State's a good team. They were very good last year. They lost a lot of talent Kenneth Walker was just an incredible running back. I had darn near Heisman season last year. He was really good, and now he's in the pros. So they've lost some talent. They lost a tough match. I mean, they really got kind of beat pretty bad last week versus the Washington Huskies at Washington. So, no shame in losing to Washington, but I think the way they lost really just disappointed a lot of the AP voters as they fell out of the rankings, which is unfortunate for the Gophers as we were hoping to beat them when they were ranked. But regardless, we beat them this week. I think it'll be tough to keep the Gophers out of the top 25. So won't get into the breakdown of that too much. There's some great podcasts already that really do good coverage of Gopher football. I do plan on ramping up the coverage as we near the end of the season. But I'll tell you what, we just got to say prayers to my man, Chris Altman-Bell. I've never met Chris. He interacted with me when I was new to Twitter. He's very interactive on there. That boy's got a heart of gold, man. I'm sure y'all have heard. But yeah, leg injury. He's out for the season. And yeah, just our prayers are with you and head up, pain and suffering, man. You're through the night, but joy will come in the morning. And I know that your future is very bright, whether it's here, whether it's in the pros, whether it's both. Cheers to a speedy recovery for you, Mr. Chris Altman-Bell. St. Thomas. We haven't talked much St. Thomas on this show yet, but we will. We sure will. We're going to have a pretty cool guest in store for you in the future here, in the near future, that represents St. Thomas. Hopefully a couple, actually. We're just trying to work through the compliance there. But I will start trying to report a little bit on their games and whatnot. We'll start with St. Thomas football. They'll take on Lincoln, California, and that's this weekend, and that's at O'Shaughnessy Stadium in St. Paul, where they're undefeated at home at 1-0. They're 1-1 on the season, so they look to go to 2-1. They get a victory over Lincoln. So yeah, shout out to those guys over at St. Thomas. Roll Toms. Hopefully they win, and just a Herculean effort as they go from Division III to Division I. Wow. So I support them. A lot of Gopher fans may not necessarily like them, and there's certainly a lot of Minnesota sports fans that maybe went to Hamlin or Augsburg or Gustavus or another MIAC school, and maybe you're not a big fan of St. Thomas, but hey, they're Division I. I support them, and I'd love to see them succeed. So we'll do a little coverage of St. Thomas on the Minnesota Mikes podcast. Last but not least, our Minnesota Vikings, they got humbled on Monday Night Football. They got humbled in Philadelphia. They lost that game. Yeah, there was a bad call. It was a Justin Jefferson pass interference. It doesn't matter. They lost. They looked rough. It was not great. A lot of drops. Irv Smith with the drop touchdown. Not trying to dog him. He's a heck of a talent. He's gotten a lot of hate wearing number 84. That's not his fault. That's his number. But yeah, the Vikings probably should have retired that number. Come on, man. We got Randy Moss, the Hall of Famer right there. But regardless, it was a bad drop. It was not the greatest game, but you never know what you're going to get when you play the game. And a fan has got to be a good fan. So we don't just quit after one loss. We're going to cheer on those Vikings. We're going to be at US Bank Stadium on Sunday doing our skull clap and the skull chant as they take on the Lions. And the Lions, I think, are pretty good. Frankly, the Lions could have swept us last year. I went to the first game that we won, and we barely won. They gave us everything we wanted last year in the first game, and they beat us the second game. I think we were the first win of their season. So I'm not taking them lightly. So we'll see what happens. But regardless, we'll be cheering on the Vikings. And look, like I said before, it doesn't matter who you are. You could be a Packers fan. And in fact, I got a shout out, and hopefully they listen to it towards the end here. But Cody and Lene, great people. I met them at the Minnesota United game at Allianz Stadium a few weeks back because I watched the United. take on the LAFC. They were so nice. We connected on social media. They were generous. They checked out my show. And so I don't know if they made it to the end, but if you did, Cody and Lene, great people. They're Packers fans. I told you, it really doesn't matter. It really, because there's good people every corner of these United States. And a lot of them cheer for different teams, even the ones that we like to cheer against. So Badgers fans, Packers fans, it was weird saying this, but it doesn't matter. And especially my Gophers and my Vikings fans. We're all on the same team here at the Minnesota Mike's Podcast. Hey, please show some love. Check out the YouTube channel, Minnesota Mike's Podcast. Check out the Instagram at Minnesota Mike's Podcast. Check out the TikTok and the Twitter at Minnesota Mike's. And the music is my nephew, Bay Bandit. Check him out at Bay Bandit _ on Instagram. And check him out on SoundCloud at Bay Bandit. Peace. Have a great weekend, y'all.
Steady heading, steady heading. Don't nobody see the vision till after you made it. On the road to riches speeding, I just hope I'm not lost. Lost some homies, run away for them, I gotta push on. If you ain't here to work, busky, you can get lost. Thought my heart was freezing, gotta let it defrost. On the road to riches speeding, I just hope I'm not lost. Lost some homies, run away for them, I gotta push on. If you ain't here to work, busky, you can get lost. Thought my heart was freezing, gotta let it defrost. Young, black and wild, and I know they hate it. Since I was a youngin', I've been counting payments. Open up the legs, it's got fans waiting. Let the haters hate, that's my motivation.